My girlfriend, 28 years old, and I, 28 years old, had an argument yesterday, and I need some insight. We're in the middle of moving apartments, and it's all a mess. Dishes in the sink, clothes on the floor, boxes everywhere, etc. She went clubbing with her friends last Saturday and came back pretty drunk. I stayed to keep tidying up the apartment. I'll admit I was in a bad mood when she got back, but not because she went out. I just was sleepy and tired from a long week at work, but can't fall asleep until I know she's okay, so I waited for her to come back. She asked me to prepare her something to eat as she felt dizzy. I did and went to sleep. The next day, the hangover turned out to be worse than she thought, to the point we started thinking someone may have spiked their drinks. All her friends felt the same way. We had plans for a date on Sunday, which we had to cancel because of her hangover. I got mad about it, but I understand, especially when it seemed like someone spiked her drink, so I didn't say anything. On Sunday night, I bought her a donut and electrolytes, we watched a movie and went to sleep. On Monday, I went to work. She slept in. She's a PhD candidate, so no regular work hours. And I went back home from work early so I could cook her something as she still felt sick. When I got to the apartment, everything was just as I left it. I got mad about it because it seemed like I was doing everything, and I was tired from moving, working, cooking, cleaning, etc. She asked me to buy her some more electrolytes, but the bottle I got her was still there, so I asked what was wrong with it. She told me she didn't like the flavor, and I said, well, if you don't like the flavor, just chug it, or go to the store and buy a new one yourself. The store is like 150 feet away from the apartment. So it didn't seem like I was being rude or anything. I felt she was being inconsiderate of my time and efforts. Hell broke loose. She started crying that I was being rude and didn't believe her feeling so sick. I did believe her, but I don't believe it's a life-threatening condition either. We needed to get groceries, so I went out and got them. When I got back, I saw she left the food I prepared for her and ordered something else through a food delivery service. I brought the groceries in. She just ate her food. It took me like 10 trips to and from the car. I cleaned everything and put it in its place. She went back to the room. I just wanted to sleep at this point. I was exhausted. She started crying about how awful I treated her, and I started crying too because it just seemed so unfair. She told me I was being violent towards her, and she's afraid it'll get worse over time. That broke me in half. Am I being violent? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I've had a drink spiked before. Even though I was with someone who got me home safely, it was a scary feeling, and I did feel gross for a couple of days after. If this is unusual behavior for her, I'd recommend showing her some grace. I'd encourage you to break down the behavior that bothered you, maybe even write it down, and figure out what, if anything, is part of a pattern. Address it when you're both calm and she's feeling better. Folks are already asking for more specifics about what raising your voice looked like, so I won't go into that. It's possible you were being violent/threatening, possibly that you weren't, and possibly that you just need to be a little more careful if she's more sensitive to yelling. Otherwise, sounds like she was being a bit of a butt because she didn't feel well, and you were being a bit of a butt because you were exhausted. Comment 2. From what you've written here, I'm not seeing any violent behaviors. Unless you left out some important details in the getting mad part of the story, it's normal to be sad, frustrated sometimes. I'm curious, is this normal behavior for her? If it is, then I'd suggest a talk about division of labor, including emotional labor. If it's a one-off, I'd consider the fact that she's feeling physically ill and probably emotionally as well. If her drink was spiked, that's a very scary thing to deal with and come to terms with. People are regularly hospitalized after their drinks have been spiked too. Either way, when tensions are lower and you're both feeling better, you should talk about the violent comment. She owes you an apology and to hear you out at the very least. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really needed some insight and you guys helped a lot. Here's what happened since then. So after that whole mess with my girlfriend being sick and the argument we had, things took a turn for the worse before they got better. I thought I was just being practical about the electrolytes, but she saw it as me not caring about her. It was a rough couple of days. I remember when we first met, she was always so independent. She'd go hiking alone, fix things around her apartment, and handle her business like a pro. That's one of the things I admired about her. But lately, it's like she's a different person. I guess the stress of her PhD program is really getting to her. Anyway, back to the update. On Tuesday, after the grocery incident, I woke up to find her sitting at the kitchen table staring at the mess in our half-packed apartment. She apologized for overreacting about the electrolytes and for not helping out more. She admitted she was feeling overwhelmed with her thesis and the move. I felt bad for her, but I was still frustrated. We decided to clear the air and talk about everything. She opened up about how she's been feeling insecure about her work and how she's worried she won't finish her PhD on time. I told her about my stress at work and how I felt like I was carrying the weight of our move on my shoulders. It was a tough conversation, but it felt good to finally understand where each other was coming from. Later that day, I came home early from work again, hoping we could spend some time together and maybe tackle the moving chaos. But when I walked in, I found her ex, Mark, in our living room. My heart dropped. I knew they had stayed friends after their breakup, but seeing him in our space, especially after everything that had happened, made my blood boil. Mark always had this smug look on his face, like he knew something you didn't. He was there under the guise of helping her with her thesis, but the tension in the room was thick. I could tell there was more to it. They both jumped up when I came in, and my girlfriend quickly explained that he was just leaving. I didn't make a scene, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That night, we barely spoke. She went to bed early, and I stayed up, lost in thought. I remembered how she used to talk about Mark with a certain fondness, even after they split. It made me wonder if she still had feelings for him. The next day, I decided to do some digging. I know it's not the best move, but I couldn't help myself. I went through her phone while she was in the shower, and there it was, a message from Mark, not about her thesis, but about how he missed her and how they should have never broken up. My heart sank. I confronted her about it when she got out of the shower. She tried to deny it at first, but eventually she broke down and admitted that she had been feeling confused about her feelings for Mark. She swore nothing happened between them, but she couldn't deny the emotional connection they still had. I was devastated, but I didn't yell or get angry. I just felt empty. We decided to take a break from each other. She went to stay with a friend, and I stayed in our chaotic apartment, surrounded by boxes and memories. The days that followed were a blur. I focused on work and the move, trying to keep my mind off everything. I packed her things separately, not sure what the future held for us. Then on Saturday, something unexpected happened. Mark's current girlfriend showed up at my door. She was furious, waving screenshots of the messages between him and my girlfriend. She had found out and wanted to confront my girlfriend, but I told her she wasn't here. We ended up talking, and she told me how Mark had cheated on her multiple times. She was done with him and wanted to expose his true colors. I felt a mix of vindication and sadness. It was clear Mark was the problem, not my girlfriend. I reached out to my girlfriend, and we met up to talk. She was shocked to hear about Mark's girlfriend and his cheating ways. It was a wake-up call for her. She apologized for letting her confusion and stress affect our relationship. She promised to cut ties with Mark for good. We're still working things out, but it feels like we're on the right track now. She's been more present, helping with the move and taking care of herself. And as for Mark, well, his girlfriend made sure everyone knew about his cheating. Last I heard, he was trying to salvage his reputation, but it wasn't going well. I canceled our New Year's Eve plans because I was sick, but then my partner gets upset when I tell others about my illness. Oh boy, she gives me the silent treatment. I'm starting to think she's controlling and immature. My partner, 38-year-old female, and I, 28-year-old male, together for nearly 4 years, were invited to a New Year's Eve party hosted by my best friend's girlfriend. The night before, I was quite unwell. We had been planning to do an infrared sauna during the next day, a treat from me to her, and my partner told me "You can't do that because you're ill," and I reluctantly agreed. I slept in a different room than my partner because I knew it would be a rough night. In the morning, I felt even more unwell, so I texted to tell the others. "Hey guys, I'm afraid I'm sick. Have a good one." Fast forward to breakfast. She says she is upset because I told the others that I was ill without consulting with her first. She is in the group chat, so she saw what I had sent. She says that it's inconsiderate, and she tries to get me to promise not to do that again. This feels super controlling to me. I tell her I understand where you're coming from. If I wasn't ill, I agree. We should talk before changing plans. But in the case where I'm ill, and you already know I'm ill, I think it's totally normal for me to do that without checking with you first. I don't want to have to second-guess my actions and check everything with her when I'm already feeling terrible from being ill. This argument continues for a bit, and then I'm just like, look, we clearly disagree. We'll have to agree to disagree right now because I'm ill and I just want to have breakfast. She leaves the room, leaving all her breakfast half made, and goes into the bedroom and closes the door. An hour later, she's still there, AeroPress coffee filled, upside down and ready to push toast in the toaster. Now she's basically completely ignoring me, marched past me right now. I said, "I'm just finishing your coffee. No thanks or anything. Just pure anger." This feels super immature to me. I'm also confused. I begrudgingly have accepted that she wants to be number one, always prioritized and told first over my best friends. And if I accidentally don't do that and she calls me out, I'll apologize. But in this case, I feel it's got nothing to do with that. I'm ill. Case closed. No one's prioritized. Being ill sucks and everyone loses. What does it matter, the order I tell people? Also, she already knew I was ill. It's a natural expectation that I would cancel if I was still ill. My stance is, we disagree on this. You can't force me to change my behavior. We're going to have to accept that we see this differently. I feel like this is a bit of a make or break situation. I don't have the time or energy to get into fights with my partner over small things like this. We go to couples therapy at my expense, and I'm willing to change and evolve. But I also feel like we should by now have accepted each other as we are and not be playing the "you have to apologize and promise not to do that again" card for small things. I will work on myself and the relationship in the areas that I'm willing. And likewise, I won't force her to work on areas that she's not willing. I might bring them up, but if there's resistance, I'm not going to push it and start a fight. Am I being unreasonable? Is this something that comes with every long-term relationship? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm sorry, but if someone nearing 40 is giving me the silent treatment, I'm not going to be able to see them as a mature and capable adult. I'm almost 30 and feel that way about my own age group. Communication is everything to me, and I cannot respect people who don't just say what they need. Though I agree, she's probably mad she has no plans now, but that's literally a guess because she didn't say in plain words what she's mad at. When she decided to cancel the sauna, either of you could have easily brought up your New Year's plans and decide what you're doing about those, but neither of you spoke up. Is communication an issue overall? Is this how she always acts when she's upset? Is there something deeper with her? Like maybe she often doesn't feel included and you're contributing more often than you realize? You have to actually talk to figure this stuff out. Comment 2. When you're partners and you have plans together, it's kind of weird to just tell everyone else they're changing without so much as mentioning it to her. Yes, she knew you were sick, and she knows it's NYE and she could probably put 2 and 2 together, but no. It's just odd. She's right there, and it's her night too, and she's supposed to be your person. The first conversation should have been between you and her. You're too sick for the party. You want her to still have a nice evening. Could you two make alternate plans together? Would she rather continue as you've begun and stay apart until you're feeling better? Did she even know you were feeling worse yet? Or might she have thought you were already on the mend? Figure out what the plan is before you get around to telling everyone else what it isn't. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a wild couple of weeks, and I've got quite the update for you all. So, after the whole breakfast fiasco, things went from bad to worse. My partner and I had been going through a rough patch, but I never expected what happened next. Remember how I mentioned we were going to couples therapy? Well, during one of our sessions, she dropped a bombshell. She confessed that she had been feeling neglected for a while, and that my best friend had been giving her the attention she craved. Yeah, you read that right. My best friend. Turns out they'd been getting closer ever since that New Year's Eve party we were supposed to attend. They'd been texting behind my back, and she felt he understood her more than I did. I was floored. I mean, this was the guy who had been my rock since college, the one who introduced me to her in the first place. I couldn't believe it. The heartbreak was real. I felt betrayed not just by my partner, but by my best friend too. It was like a double punch to the gut. I thought back to all the times they'd been a bit too friendly, and it all made sense now. The way they'd laugh a little too hard at each other's jokes, the lingering looks. I had been blind. But wait, it gets steamier. During one of our arguments, she admitted that they had kissed. It was just once, she said, but that didn't make it any less painful. I was devastated. I mean, we had been together for nearly 4 years, and I had thought we were solid. I confronted my best friend, and it was the most intense conversation I've ever had. He tried to apologize, saying it was a moment of weakness, but I wasn't having any of it. I felt like I didn't even know who he was anymore. Our friendship, which had survived countless ups and downs, was crumbling before my eyes. In the midst of all this, I remembered how my partner had always been a bit possessive. She had a history of wanting to be the center of attention, and I guess I had overlooked that trait. But now, it was clear that her need for attention had led her down a path that destroyed our relationship. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any more shocking, she told me she was moving out. She said she needed space to figure things out, that she wasn't sure if she wanted to be with him or work things out with me. I was stunned. Our apartment, once filled with love and laughter, felt cold and empty. I've been trying to pick up the pieces of my life since then. It's been tough, not gonna lie. I've had to deal with the heartbreak of losing my partner and my best friend at the same time. I've been leaning on other friends for support, and they've been great, but it's not the same. I keep thinking about all the good times we had, like when we went on that road trip for our anniversary and sang our favorite songs at the top of our lungs. It's hard to reconcile those memories with what's happening now. As for the therapy, I'm still going, but it's just me now. I'm working on healing and figuring out how to move forward. It's a slow process, but I'm trying to stay positive. JB cheated on me with my best friend, and now I'm kicking her out of my house. Oh boy, I can't wait to see JB's face. Background: my partner JB and I have been together for 9 years. We had what I thought was an incredibly healthy relationship, built on love, mutual respect, communication, etc. We went through the awkwardness of our early 20s together. She was with me through my military service, bought a house together, solely in my name, bought with a VA loan. And we were planning on settling down, marrying, and having kids next year when I graduate professional school. In a very real sense, neither of us knows a life without the other. I'm not exaggerating when I say most of my mental free time has been thinking about my upcoming marriage, kids with this woman. My friend AS and I have been inseparable best friends since kindergarten. A while back, he fell on a rough patch with unemployment and his long-term girlfriend dumping him, and I let him stay in a spare bedroom. We had to help him get back on his feet. I loved him like a brother. So while I attended professional school in a different state, JB and AS lived in my house together. I say my, but this morning I would have said our. I trusted both of them wholeheartedly, and it never even crossed my mind to be bothered by the arrangement. I fly home for most major breaks, including the entirety of summer, and am gone for 2 to 3 months at most for school. I've planned my career, including summer jobs, around staying in this city and making sure I'm in a position to commute and start a family with the woman I love. The incident. A couple hours ago, I received a message request from a stranger on Facebook. They claimed to have a mutual friend with JB and informed me that they learned JB has been cheating on me with AS. I felt queasy and started shaking. When I found a private location, I immediately called JB and in a non-accusatory way basically said, "Check out this weird message I got. What's going on?" JB broke down and told me everything. They had intimacy twice, allegedly, about a year ago, and I got a slew of excuses. I was drunk, I felt lonely, I was emotional because my dad had just died. I flew home and was with her for multiple weeks when this happened. I'm not the rose-colored glasses type. Does anyone think they are? But I believe her when she says she hasn't cheated on me outside of this. I was and am absolutely shocked, confused, embarrassed, devastated, outraged, everything. I feel like a freaking idiot. I'm sure the Germans have a word for this feeling. I just don't know it. I told AS to leave my house immediately, and when he started dilly-dallying, I told him I was rescinding permission for him to be on my property, trespassing him, and wouldn't hesitate to call the sheriff, and I would have too. I have a good group of friends who've all offered me support and even offered to help prepare my house for sale or rental while simultaneously berating AS in shared group chats, which was extremely cathartic. This will be the plan when I break up with JB. And it hurts so much because this has been our home for a long time. It's all so messed up. What do I do? I'm usually a calm and collected guy, and I'm losing it. I feel like I lost my home, my two best friends, and my life partner and mother of my children tonight. Even worse, if I couldn't trust these two people, I don't know how I'll move forward and trust anybody else in the future. The questions I'm 100% cutting AS out. He can collect his things out front, but if he comes inside, I'm going to blow a gasket. No regrets here. I feel like I should cut all ties with JB, but there's a profound sense of grief surrounding this option. Like I'm mourning the loss of our shared future. How do I move forward from that? On the flip side, can I retain any self-respect if I don't cut things off? Like, am I even a man? Do people really ever get past something like this? On the outside looking into situations like this, I've always been team grow a spine and ditch 'em, but it feels so much more complex now that it's me. What am I missing? Happy for any other thoughts. God, this sucks. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I went through almost the exact same situation, even down to being in the military. She was the love of my life, and he was my best friend. I cut both of them off and spent a year and a half depressed. I focused on my career and the things I could control. Every day hurt, but the next day hurt a little less. I started going to therapy and began working through the emotional fallout. That was 8 years ago. I got married last year to a beautiful, kind, caring, and trustworthy person. A person I never would have had the opportunity to live this life with had I stayed with a person that I now know I couldn't trust. I am so sorry this happened to you, but it is not going to define you. Comment 2. Cut her off now. Nothing good will come from staying with someone who betrayed you like that. Ask yourself, why are you so willing to cast him out with no remorse? Why is she any different? Try to think of a serious answer to that which makes sense. Why him and not her too? You may feel like you can get to a point where you trust her again. She is so sorry and remorseful, etc. But let me tell you, it will slowly eat at you year in and year out, and you will get to a point years later wondering why the frick you stayed with someone who has no respect for you. Do yourself a favor, show yourself some respect, and don't let these two people ruin the rest of your life. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been 2 weeks since I last posted about the whole JB and AS situation. I've had some time to process everything, and boy, do I have an update for you all. First off, let me give you a bit of history that I didn't mention before. JB and I met in high school, and we were each other's first everything. We've been through so much together, like when I had a serious injury during my military service, and she was right there, taking care of me through the recovery. That's why this whole thing hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, on to the update. After I kicked AS out, things got even more complicated. I found out that the mutual friend who messaged me was actually JB's coworker, who had caught them in the act at a company party a year ago. This coworker had been holding on to this secret, wrestling with the guilt of not telling me sooner. When she finally did, it was like opening Pandora's box. I confronted JB about it, and she confessed that it wasn't just twice. It had been an ongoing thing for months. She tried to justify it by saying that she felt abandoned when I was away for school. I couldn't believe it. The woman I was planning to marry, the one I trusted more than anyone, had been lying to me for so long. The injustice of it all was eating me up inside. I had given AS a place to stay when he was at his lowest, and this was how he repaid me? By betraying me with JB? It felt like a double betrayal. But wait, there's more. I found out that JB had been using my VA benefits to cover some of her own expenses without telling me. She had access to my accounts because we shared everything. I felt like such a fool for trusting her blindly. The confrontation was intense. I demanded that she pay back every penny she took, and she agreed, but the damage was done. The trust was shattered. I couldn't even look at her without feeling a mix of anger and heartbreak. As for AS, he tried to come by to apologize, but I wasn't having any of it. I couldn't even stand to hear his voice. I told him to leave his key and never come back. He left a long, rambling apology letter in the mailbox, but I tore it up without reading it. I didn't need his excuses. The house feels so empty now. It's just me, surrounded by memories of a life that's not going to happen. I've been spending a lot of time with my other friends, the ones who've been supporting me through this mess. They've been a lifeline, helping me to not completely lose it. I've been thinking a lot about what to do with the house. Selling it seems like the easiest option, but it's also where I saw my future with JB. It's hard to let go of that dream. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I've also been reflecting on my relationship with JB. We had been through so much together, and I thought we were solid. But looking back, there were signs I ignored, like how she would get distant when I talked about my plans for after graduation, or how she would change the subject when I brought up starting a family. I'm trying to figure out how to move forward from here. It's not easy. I keep thinking about the good times, and it's hard to reconcile those memories with what she did. But I know I can't go back to the way things were. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.